Opposed, each will control 5 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Ohio.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The amendment strikes Section 217, which authorizes funds to NATO for the joint fund established for the, quote, Defense Innovation Accelerator for the North Atlantic Initiative, with an acronym DIANA. NATO has suffered from major mission creep and bureaucratic bloat, while separate entities like DIANA are tied closely to innovation, to the Innovation Fund that was to launch in NATO in 2022. There are 22 allies listed as participants, and the United States isn't one of them. Meanwhile, there are numerous countries that are participating in this fund, Germany, Turkey, Italy, Spain, etc., who already do not meet their 2% GDP commitment to fund their own defense. Why would we expect them to contribute fully to DIANA when they won't contribute the basic amount to their own defense, which is NATO's purpose, to defend? It's a defensive alliance. We've had colleagues who support a new strategic purpose for NATO. It doesn't need a new strategic purpose. It is even accomplishing its own purpose to focus on its own defense. You have countries like Germany who have literally no debt. They're very little debt in their country. Meanwhile, the United States is borrowing money to fund things like this. So we could fund it for our own country, but I don't know that we need to fund it on behalf of NATO. This program adds one more financial burden to the United States within NATO, while European countries take a free ride off of our efforts. There is no focus from the United States government to make these countries pay for the commitments they made as part of being members of the NATO alliance. Since 2006, they've all avoided their basic financial responsibility. There is no reason to expand the financial obligations within NATO until they follow through and honor their commitments. I reserve.
For what purposes the gentleman from New York seek recognition?
Mr. Chair, I rise in strong opposition to this amendment.
The gentleman from New York is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to start by yielding 2 minutes to the gentleman from New York and the ranking member of our Foreign Affairs Committee, Mr. Meeks.
The gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in strong opposition to this amendment. This is a poorly conceived and ill-intentioned attempt to kill the United States support for the Defense Innovation Accelerator of the North Atlantic Program, otherwise known as DIANA, which is a cooperative NATO effort to outsmart and out-innovate our adversaries. The DIANA program was set up by NATO as an effort to spur increased defense research and development funding to rapidly adapt to a new era of strategic competition by bringing key defensive experts together with the NATO alliances, leading entrepreneurs, and academic researchers. The DIANA initiative is specifically designed to leverage breaking developments and critical advances in next-generation defense capabilities such as artificial intelligence, quantum computing, hypersonics, space domain, as well as advanced materials and manufacturing sciences for the benefit of all NATO allies. With U.S. adversaries such as Russia and its brutal, unprovoked war of aggression in Ukraine, and our global competition with China, where China has efforts to outpace the United States in technological superiority and undermine international norms and freedoms, continue to malign efforts, it is more important than ever that we work closely with our NATO allies to out-innovate, out-compete at the leading edge of defense technology. Eliminating funding from DIANA program is precisely the opposite of what we should be doing. The opposite. We should be working together with our NATO allies in a collective way. Therefore, I encourage all members to oppose this amendment. And I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman reserves.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Ohio is recognized.
I thank the Speaker. I agree that we should be working collaboratively with our NATO allies. In fact, we do. I was fortunate to get to serve in Germany at a time that the Cold War was at its heights. I saw the wall fall while I was there, and I got to see people rushing to our side. They were not asking for more government. They were asking for more freedom. Germany is reunified, things we never thought we would see. but they're also spending their money on all sorts of things except their own defense. Now, they spend something. They're helpful. I don't want to underappreciate the good things they do, but we shouldn't continue funding initiatives together unless they honor their commitment. In fact, only 7 countries out of these 23 countries are paying 2% of their GDP. If we don't hold them accountable, why are they going to step up? They're not. Meanwhile, we're bankrupting our own country, making us weaker, less free, less safe, more burdened by debt, and we're not holding our allies accountable for paying their fair share. I reserve.
Gentleman reserves. The gentleman from New York is recognized.
Mr. Chair, I would like to yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from Washington State, Mr. Larson.
The gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I rise today in support of the Defense Innovation Accelerator for the North Atlantic and ask my colleagues to oppose this amendment. The Defense Innovation Accelerator for the North Atlantic helps the United States and its NATO allies counter Russia and China through the accelerated development of innovative technologies to defend the U.S. and our NATO allies. These innovative technologies include artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and hypersonic missiles in defense, all valuable tools to give the U.S. and its NATO allies leverage over Russia and China. Continued U.S. leadership and collaboration with NATO allies on emerging technologies will lead to greater innovation and ensure the U.S. will have a direct influence on the modernization of the NATO alliance. Earlier this year, an American was elected chair of the board of the Defense Innovation Accelerator for the North Atlantic, and 2 Americans currently serve on the board. The U.S. will lead this new, necessary NATO national security effort, and Americans will continue to work alongside its allies to build a stronger alliance and a safer world. In addition, the language that's in the underlying bill is actually the language to authorize the U.S. to begin funding its part. That's why the U.S. doesn't currently fund its part. We had to write legislation to get the U.S. to the DoD to get its authorization to fund its part in DIANA. In addition to that, the next 5 years, the U.S. commitment is about $47 million, while NATO allies will contribute about $1.1 billion. So I would say we're going to get our money's worth, Mr. Chair. The U.S. has to support the Defense Innovation Accelerator for North Atlantic. I urge my colleagues in supporting this effort and to support U.S. participation in NATO and to oppose this amendment. With that, I yield back the balance of my time.
Mr. Chair, reserve the balance of my time.
Pardon?
I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from Ohio is recognized.
Thanks, Mr. Speaker. This is an important signal to send to all our allies. We are indeed your allies, but we're not going to fund or fight your wars. You're not buying insurance for America to carry the load. We're a participant. We'd love a collaborative relationship. And the idea that they're doing something better in DIANA is encouraging, but they're not honoring the fundamental nature of the agreement. And that's a problem. We have to hold them accountable for doing just that. And I don't understand why my colleagues object to doing that. I understand people are passionate about the DIANA program, and that's why I hope they're passionate about it. You've got something maybe they care about. I don't know. But we've got to send the message that you can't just underinvest in your own defense and count on America to bail you out. I reserve.
The gentleman reserves. The gentleman from New York is recognized.
Mr. Chair, I yield myself as much time as I may use.
The gentleman is recognized.
Mr. Chair, with respect to my colleague and alum of United States Military Academy, I respectfully disagree. I think at this moment, when our allies and our entire alliance is engaged in direct hot war, is a moment where we have to have our allies' backs, where we have to lead by assuming some risk and hoping and pushing and nudging our allies to follow. So I do respect the spirit of what my colleague is saying, but in the heat of battle is not the time to question our allies or to back away from our allies. And in fact, as my colleagues have said, it is the moment to lean in and strengthen our alliance, bolster innovation, and bring to bear the resources of the DIANA effort. And with that, I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman reserved. The gentleman's time has expired. The gentleman from Ohio is recognized.
I think the Speaker, it is precisely the time to lean in and have your allies back. And if our allies won't do that now, when will they do it? There's a war on their borders, and they will not invest at the levels they've committed to do as part of the treaty. If they won't do it now, when will they? How do we not hold them accountable for this? We have no defined mission. We have no accountability for no defined strategy. And we just have an open checkbook. How in the world does this encourage a stronger alliance? It doesn't. And my colleagues, I ask you, please support this amendment. Please hold our NATO allies accountable for doing what they said they would do. And I yield back.
Gentleman yields. The question is on the amendment offered by the gentleman from Ohio. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. In the